Let's find the point on the unit circle that corresponds to 5 pi over 6. Okay, so unit circle has a radius of 1. So like this distance is 1, this distance is 1, this would be 1 to the left and 1 down. But since it's a circle, it could also be at these diagonals, where some of the distance is horizontal and some of the distance is vertical. And so the trick here is we really need to figure out where 5 pi over 6 is, and then we can use some reasoning to figure out where the point is. Okay, so with angles in standard position, which is what you should assume unless you're told differently, from the positive x-axis, if the angle doesn't open up at all, that's 0 degrees and 0 radians. If you go all the way around, that is 360 degrees or 2 pi radians. And that could be helpful to us here, because if all the way around is 2 pi, then halfway around, from here to here, would be half of 2 pi, or pi radians. And 5/6 is a little bit less than 1, so it's going to be right in here somewhere. So I really don't need to think about quadrant 3 or 4. So I guess I don't even need to think about quadrant 1. I need to think about where does it land in quadrant 2. Okay, I guess I'll go ahead and map this out though. So I think one of the easiest approaches, until you have it memorized, because you will have this kind of thing memorized shortly, is if this is 1 pi radians, you can also think of this as 6 pi 6, because that 6 over 6 is of course 1. So if I take this 1 pi radian and I try to cut it into 6 equal pieces, well, this is 180 degrees, so if I cut it into 6 equal pieces, do 30. So here's where 30 degrees is, or 1 pi over 6. Here's where 60 is, 60 degrees, or 2 pi 6. This is where 90, so I'm just adding 30 each time, or 3 pi 6. Add another 30 degrees, 4 pi 6, add another 30 degrees, 5 pi 6, add another 30 degrees to get to 180 degrees or 1 pi radian. So that helps me locate where 5 pi over 6 is. Now the question still wants us to figure out what is the point that corresponds to that. So that point tells us a lot of information, so that's why we really want to have that memorized. But to help you memorize it, you can look at this little reference triangle drawn in here. And even with my quick little sketch, I can see this is the big value to the left. And of the unit circle values, the bigger value, well, the biggest value is 1, but short of that is square root of 3 over 2, but it's going to the left, so negative. And it's got the small y value, so of course the smallest y value would be 0, but the next smallest is 1/2, and it's going up. So that's how I know that would be the point that corresponds to 5 pi over 6.